How's it going, Met fans? Welcome back. Talking Mets with Rob, episode 10. How's everybody doing? Hope you enjoyed the newest Met. Francisco Lindor had his press conference today to introduce himself to the Met fans and to the media. As you know, we took a lot of questions. We're gonna dig a little deeper into those questions, into his answers, just to show you a little bit more about Francisco Lindor and who he is as a person, as a player, what's his expectations, what he talked about with signing an extension with the Mets, and so much more. So we're gonna get right into it in a few minutes. Uh, as you can see in the back of me, I bought one of the Francisco Lindor jerseys. Got it custom made at the MLB shop in New York. You know, we don't get a superstar every day in this town, especially during an acquisition in many years. So this is one of the top five biggest players that the Mets ever got in their history, especially in the trade acquisition. So I thought it would be, as a Met fan, it was my obligation to get this jersey. Hope you guys pick it up. I like the blue, but obviously you can get that the home pinstripes if you want. Maybe that road gray. But go get your jersey, guys. We got a superstar on our hands. So we're gonna talk a little bit more about what Francisco Lindor said. So the first couple of things he talked about and the questions that he was asked. The first thing was when he first heard the news about being traded to the Mets. What did he feel? How did he react? What was his answer? Well, he said that he had a little bit of mixed emotions, and the reason why is because he was drafted by the Indians. He grew up as a young guy going into their system, so that's all he knows is Cleveland. We can say the same for the Jose Reyes of the world, the David Wrights, even Wilmer Flores when he was almost traded in 2015. What he said, he was so used to the Mets organization, 16 years old, going through the system, everything like that. So that's what Francisco Lindor said with his mixed emotions. Cleveland treated him well. He loved the fans there. Everybody treated him good, from the staff to the players to the organization to the fans. And then he realized that he was a little sad about that because that was his home. But then when he realized he's coming to a team with a new owner, new look on life, a good team, a really good team that can contend, he had that big smile on his face that we all know Lindor has. So that was really cool to hear him say that. There was a few other questions that I wanted to get to that he talked about. The first thing was the contract extension. So I know every Met fan, when that question came, I'm not sure. I think it was Mike Puma, the one that brought up that question. I think it was like the second question in the press conference. And Lindor was like, he lives one day at a time. He don't like to look too much into the future. He also said that he is not gonna stop and not talk about a contract extension. He wants that, and he said that he's not against it, and he wants a contract extension. So he did say that you know it's got to be good for both sides. Everybody's got to be happy with the deal before anything gets through. And the bigger thing that I think he said is that he does not like to talk contract extension during the season. So what does that mean for the Mets? So that basically means it's either now between the offseason and most of spring training to get a contract extension with Francisco Lindor. So that gives us about what, a month and a half before the season's, about 2 months, give or take. And I do have a feeling the Mets are going to do that, but it is a little nerve wracking as a Met fan because nothing ever goes our way, and we know that for many years as a Met fan. But it's also understandable to think why a player will want to not talk contract extension during the season. It's a lot of distractions, constant questions from the media, especially in New York. He'll probably get the question every day during the season. Why aren't you going to sign? Have you talked? Blah, blah, blah. You don't want to hear that. He probably don't want to deal with that. He wants to play the game, as he said during the press conference. He wants to play his game. He wants to be 100% focused on the game at hand, on the season to win a championship. He don't want to put that on his teammates and himself, which I completely understand. But listening to that shows me that the Mets have about a 2-month window to negotiate with his agent and him. and hopefully they can come to terms, give him a big contract, and he'll be a Met for the majority of his career, almost maybe until the end of his career. So that was the question we wanted. That was the answer we were trying to get, and we got it really quickly with Mike Puma asking that question. So I think the Mets will do what they need to do to extend him, especially giving up basically all your shortstops at the major league level to get Lindor. Even if it is 1 year, that's it's the two shortstops you had on the roster. Yeah, you could talk about Guillaume, but still, your two shortstops that started for you last year was Jimenez and Rosario, and they're off the team now. We got Mauricio in the minors, and you could say Guillermo could be a shortstop also, but that's what we have on the depth charts right now. So I think it's really important for the Mets to go as hard as they can to sign Lindor before the season, because if they wait until the end of the year, I think it's really going to be hard because there's going to be a lot of teams bidding for him. He'll just be another big name in the shortstop market after the 2021 season. We know all the names: Baez, Lindor, Trevor Story, all those guys. So there's a lot to pick from, and you don't want to have to worry about teams that need shortstops are going to bid, you know, everything they can to pay these guys, and you don't want to get stuck Lindor leaving after 1 year and you have no shortstops on your roster. So I do think Sandy, Porter, and Cohen are not going to make this deal not knowing that they'll probably have about 95% chance of signing this guy. So that's another thing that he talked about that I think all the Met fans wanted to really know, because that was the most important thing right there. So when it comes to more of Lindor as a Met, what do we expect? Well, I expect a high energy guy. I expect him to be a team player. He's going to fit great in a clubhouse, especially with Alonso and Smith. All these guys, they're goofballs. It's fun. And I think he's going to fit right in. He's a dominant player. He's a top 5 player in the league, no doubt. Probably one of the best shortstops in the league, no doubt. Now, will he fit in to the New York mantra with the media and the pressure? New York, Cleveland is not New York. We all know that. But he is a superstar. We've seen superstars come here before and fall flat on their face. I'm not going to talk about Roberto Alomar. I'm not going to talk about all these other guys and going, you guys know. Actually, it's that same number right there that Alomar wore. We all know about Alomar when we acquired him many years ago. So, but I think Lindor is going to be okay. I think he just has that open mind that he's going to play his game. He's going to be, as he said many times in the third person, he said, Francisco Lindor. I'm going to be Francisco Lindor. He's going to play the game he loves, and he's going to do it with a smile on his face. I expect that. I think that's what he's going to do. I think he's going to be okay with the media. Even if he starts off slow, he might get, you're going to get the fans going crazy a little bit. But I think he's going to be okay. I think he's going to be really good for us. He's going to be in the middle of that lineup. And with this addition of Lindor and Carrasco, because we can't forget about Carlos Carrasco, he's probably our number 2 pitcher at this moment. He's a solid number 2, and he's definitely a really, really, really good number 3, if you want to, depending on where you want to put this rotation. With Stroman and Peterson and Matz. I'm not going to talk about Syndergaard because he might come back to the middle of June, the middle of the season, probably right before the All-Star break, sometime in June. So what I'm thinking is, with Lindor in this lineup, it just pushes everybody back in this lineup. And with Lindor, he is a switch hitter. But when there's a right-handed pitcher, he will be batting lefty. When there's a left-hander, he'll be batting righty. But if you look at the top of the lineup, which you're gonna see in just a second, with the when a right-handed pitcher's pitching that night or day, and a left-handed pitcher. So if you look at the lineups on both sides of me, you can see how I situated the lineup for the right-handed pitcher, and we're gonna go through it, and you're gonna go also to the left-handed lineup when there's a left-handed pitcher pitching that day. So when we look at the right-handed pitching, the right-handed pitcher that's on the mound, and the lineup that I put up there, the guys in orange that are in bold, obviously the guys that we acquired and that we signed. So if a right-handed pitcher's on the mound, I think the lineup should look like this: Brandon Nimmo, center field; Jeff McNeil, second base; Francisco Lindor, shortstop; Michael Conforto, right field; Pete Alonso, first; Dominic Smith, left; J.D. Davis at third; and James McCann at catcher, batting eighth, and then the pitcher spot. Now, if you look at this lineup with a right-handed pitcher on the mound, there's a lot of lefties in that lineup, and this is just at this moment in time who we have. If this is what the Mets do and there's nothing else, this is the lineup. This will be in the lineup. You're gonna mix and match. Depending on the pitcher on the mound. But you gotta see how much left-handed bats that we have in our lineup, and that's a little dangerous. You got Nimmo, you got McNeil, you got Lindor, you got four guys in a row from leadoff to cleanup that are left-handed batters. Now, if they bring a left-hander in the middle of the game for like a Brandon Nimmo for the top, for 1, 2, 3 in the order, you got Brandon Nimmo, McNeil, but then you can switch Lindor to the right side, so that helps a little bit. But when it's right, you're gonna have a lot of lefties in the lineup. But I don't really worry about that too much right now. You worry about that in the middle of the innings, later in the game when they start putting the left-handers in or different pitches in the game from the bullpen, and then you can mess around with the lineup there. But this is the lineup that I want for right-handed pitchers at the moment. You can disagree. Just let me know, comment. But I truly believe that this can be the lineup for a right-handed pitcher. And going to the left-handed pitcher, I think you can lead off Lindor. He's got the speed, and we know he's got the power, but he can be a leadoff. He done that a few times with Cleveland also. Then you got Jeff McNeil at second. You got Alonso at first. You got Conforto cleanup, right field. You got James McCann behind Conforto as at catcher. You got Dominic Smith in left. You got J.D. Davis at third. You got Brandon Nimmo at center, batting eighth, and then the pitcher spot. The reason why I put McCann behind Conforto, now we really don't know what McCann's going to be, but I feel like he's going to be okay. I think we have to split up the left-handers in the lineup when there's a left-hand pitcher on the mound. Why I think that's important? Because there's so many times during the game when you pile up left-handers, and then they bring in a left-handed pitcher, and then here we go again. There'll be one guy in the lineup that's not very good with left-handers, and you're gonna have to take him out of the lineup to bring in a right-handed hitter, that can hit the left-handed pitcher. So I think this is the lineup that I came up with at the roster that it is right now. Who knows? We might still get Springer, maybe JBJ. We might get other outfielders that could be in the market, acquisition wise in a trade. But I want to really focus on what we have right now, because everybody keeps on talking about Springer's going to cost too much money. I agree. It's not going to be cheap. But just think of this: who is known on the market? Free agency and possibly with a trade to acquire a player, a center fielder in a trade. This is what you heard all over Twitter, all the sources. You got the free agent, Jackie Bradley Jr., free agent, Bradley, I'm sorry. Then you got acquisition-wise for a trade, you got Kevin Kiermaier. And you also can talk about other center fielders that we can possibly get. They're all left-handed. Guys, if we decide to go the Jackie Bradley Jr. route, the Kiermaier route, it's another lefty in the lineup. And that means you're going to have to, even if you put Brandon Nimmo in left and Dominic Smith at first, or whatever you want to do, depending on the pitcher, you're going to have so many guys in the lineup that is left-handed. Everybody else, there's only a couple of guys that are right-handed. You got J.D. Davis, Pete Alonso, and James McCann. That's 3 out of 6. So 6-year players are left-handed with Lindor switch-hitter, depending on the pitcher. So I really think that we have to really be careful about what you guys really want. Yes, we can allocate the money a little more if we sign a lower end center fielder. That's not going to cost as much as Springer. But guys, you have to understand, you can't go through all of this nonsense with Springer, and you think you're going to get Springer right-handed bat. We know we got Pop. He's a top of the order type of guy. Putting JBJ or Kiermaier in this lineup is going to be good defensively, but it's going to cause a lot of problems during the season bringing another left-handed bat in that lineup. I mean, we've seen it across town with the Yankees. How many times? That's all you see. I mean, they don't have no left-handed batters. They have all right-handed batters. And it seems like every time when they get to the playoffs, they fall apart. All you got to do is bring in a power right-handed guy, and they're in trouble. You know, you never see them bringing in left-handed pitchers against the Yankees, because why would you? So, you know, because they're so right-hand dominant that you don't have to worry about a lefty-righty matchup. So that's why I think that Springer, I I truly believe that the Mets are going to go over the luxury tax. Not by a lot, maybe like 5 to 10 million, maybe a little more, but nothing like 30, 40, 50 million dollars over the luxury tax. Because I don't think you can set up your team the way you want it and not have another right-handed bat in this lineup. Just to mix it up a little bit. Because if you put Springer in this lineup, you know, obviously he's going to play center field. That means Nimmo's going to go to left. Now, you're going to probably have to think about what are you going to do with Alonso and Smith at first base. Now, I think if depending on the pitcher, if it's a left-hander, put Alonso in at first. If it's a right-handed pitcher, put Smith at first. Or, you know, you want to give Nimmo a day off, you put Dom in left field, you put Pete at first. Whatever you could do, you have options. You don't really have options when you got Jackie Bradley Jr. or Kiermaier because all of them are left-handed. So, you know, you put it in Nimmo at left and you're going to put Jackie Bradley Jr. in center. That's great. Yeah, he'll probably catch every ball. But when it comes to offensively, you're going to have another left-hander in the lineup. So now that's how many now? That's 7. That's another 6. That's 6 left-handed batters. You're going to have Nimmo. You're going to have McNeil. You're going to have Jackie Bradley Jr. You're going to have Conforto. You're going to have Smith. It's a lot. You know, I don't want to go crazy about the lineup, but it's something to look at the way this roster is right now. Now, I'm okay with these two lineups that you see right now, right-handed pitcher and left-handed pitcher. Yes, you want. I know a lot of people are like, why do you have James McCann behind Michael Conforto? Again, I want to mix up the lineup a little bit, especially, you know, a manager can't come in and bring in a left-handed pitcher and can keep him in for 3 straight batters. Here, you can't do that in the lineup that you see with the left-handed pitchers. You can't do that. So it gives us an advantage when the manager has to bring in a left-handed pitcher. You know, if they got to face, you know, bringing a left-hander for Conforto, that's great and all. But now they have to worry about McCann. Or you can always put, you know, depending on who's hot, you can put J.D. Davis up there, or you want to put Alonso behind Conforto and put Smith third, or whatever you want to do. There's a lot of ways to go about it. And that's why I like this lineup, these lineups that I have up there, because I think it has a little bit more flexibility. And I truly believe Spring is going to be a Met because there's been a lot of rumors about DJ LeMahieu being very frustrated with the lack of movement the Yankees are doing with signing him. And I think, and he just told his agents that they want to talk to other teams. And one team that they brought up that's very interested, that are really serious about signing LeMahieu was the Blue Jays. Now, the Blue Jays are about, I believe I saw on Twitter, about $120 million under the luxury tax, which is a lot of money, a whole lot of money. And what does that do if the Blue Jays sign DJ LeMahieu to, if it's a 5-year, $100 million? What do you do? what do you think? If the Blue Jays going to spend on LeMahieu, I don't think they're going to spend another $150 million on Springer. I just don't see that. So where does that leave Springer? That leaves him with one option, the Mets. Now the Mets have the chip, the bargaining chip that they need to not overspend and get Springer. So now, now that's a big deal, isn't it? A very big deal. Why is that? Because we've heard reports of what Springer wants. 150, 175. If LeMahieu goes to the Blue Jays for $100 million or about that, Springer has no other team to go to up the price for the Mets. So the Mets are in the driver's seat, and I think that's what Sandy Alderson and Steve Cohen and Jared Porter, I think that's what they're doing. That's why when they talked about they're waiting to see how the market develops, and I really think they're waiting for LeMahieu to go somewhere. Because if LeMahieu goes to the Blue Jays, as I was saying, Springer's not going to be a Blue Jay. The Blue Jays are not going to spend $150 million. I just know that. It just seems that they're not. So it's either one or the other. It's either Springer or LeMahieu for the Blue Jays. And I really think that puts us in the driver's seat to get Springer. Now, can we get him for less than $150? $150 million? I think so. I think we can get him in the 125 to 140 range. That can save us $20 million on a cap, on the luxury tax. So, and that helps us a little bit more to get a Brad Hand and get a couple of depth pieces for the bench. So, with this lineup that we see right here, this is what I think right now. But putting Springer in that lineup changes the whole ball game. When it comes more to who else do I want, I'm hoping that the Mets take a strong look at Brad Hand. I think that's really going to help us. We need a left-hander in that bullpen. So I think you guys got to look out for LeMahieu and see what's going on, because the Blue Jays are really serious and they're really going to make a big offer for LeMahieu. Springer can be the Mets center fielder. It's like 95% in my opinion. So I want you guys to realize, keep on paying attention to what the Blue Jays are doing, because I really think what the Blue Jays do is going to determine what the Mets do in center field. If the Blue Jays decide to say, you know what, I don't want to give $100 million to a 32-year-old infielder in LeMahieu, I want to sign Springer, I think the Mets are going to pivot and see what they can do in center field. Maybe just leave Nimmo there. Maybe get, a bench guy that can play center field. I know we got Heredia on the bench right now, but, like maybe they will bring in Jackie Bradley Jr. or somebody else. But I truly believe the rest of the offseason for the Mets, we just got Lindor, we just got Carrasco, we got James McCann, Trevor May. I think the two new next additions, in my opinion, in the coming weeks, is going to be George Springer and Brad Hand. You guys might not agree, but I have that feeling. I don't know why. I think the Mets are just waiting in the wind to get Springer for the number they want, because we've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now. George Springer has two options: the Blue Jays and the Mets, and I think he's going to be a New York Met patrolling center field in 2021. So, going back to the trade that the Mets just made with Lindor and Carrasco. With Carlos Carrasco, we got him for 2 years and a vested option. I know he's 34 years old. I know he's up there in age. But I really think with his presence and his playoff experience, he pitched well in the playoffs last year against the Yankees. I really think that Carrasco is going to be a huge addition. I think Lindor is going to be a bigger addition to this lineup. But Carrasco in this rotation gives you a little bit of sigh of relief as a Met fan. Because after DeGrom, you got a sturdy, strong right-hander in Carrasco that can pitch innings. He's a workhorse. And he's a really good pitcher. He's got multiple pitches. He just knows how to pitch. And I really believe that with Carrasco, you can do whatever you need to do behind him depending on the series, depending on what teams you're going to be facing next. Or you can just say, this is how my rotation is going to be. It's going to be DeGrom, Carrasco, Stroman, Peterson, and then Matz. I think you got to give Matz the fifth starter position in the rotation because at this moment we haven't got nobody else. Odorizzi, we're out. And I don't know about Taijuan Walker. It doesn't seem like the Mets are actually like going to get another mid-level rotation guy. But I think Mets deserves to get the fifth spot, not because he pitched any good last year. He didn't. He was terrible. But I think with James McCann, he worked out with Mats during the offseason and they know each other. I think that can only help Mats. Maybe give a little more confidence to throw the pitches that he wants. And I think Mets can be a good number 5, an okay number 5. And then when Syndergaard comes back, Mets, depending on, who's pitching well, Mets will probably have to get out of the rotation. But you also have to remember when Syndergaard comes back, he's not going to pitch 9 innings every game. He might pitch 4 or 5 because you're going to start him off slow. You're not going to, blow out his arm. We've seen that with Harvey in 2015 and 2016. You just don't want to do that. So, you can probably start Syndergaard and piggyback him with Mets afterwards if you want to do it that way to keep them on the same days. So just in case if Syndergaard, might have like a little arm fatigue after Tommy John and everything like that, pitching a couple games in a row, you could throw a match right into his spot, and he can go on his 5th day. So I really think that this team is really set up well right now to be a very good team, 90 plus win team for sure. And there has been talk on Twitter also about Jeurys Familia. He didn't pitch all that well. He was okay, but he really didn't pitch really that well. And a lot of people are saying maybe we have to get rid of Familia to shed a little bit of payroll, and maybe that can get us Springer. Lower the payroll a little bit to add Springer and then add Brad Hand, keep us under a luxury tax threshold. But I mean, who's really going to take him? Is somebody going to, are you going to just give Familia to another team? You think they're just going to take on his salary knowing that he wasn't that good? $10 million? I don't really think so. So it's going to be kind of hard to just get rid of Familia because you're probably going to have to take on some of that contract. And what's the point of trading him away and taking half of the salary and let the team pay the other half? So you only save about $5 million. I mean, is that enough to say, all right, now we can get Springer? I don't know. But if you can get somebody to take his whole contract and maybe get, peanuts in return, maybe we can probably get rid of Familia as a salary dump and use that to acquire, the free agent Hand. I mean, that makes sense. But I don't know. I think it's going to be hard to get rid of Familia. I think it's really going to be hard to get Familia and actually, get rid of him and, use that money elsewhere. That would be nice, but, we can't get everything, even though we thought we could. So, just so you guys know, Carlos Carrasco press conference is tomorrow at 1 p.m. It was originally at 11 a.m., but they changed it. So 1 p.m. tomorrow, the news conference for Carlos Carrasco. It's going to be on SNY and all their social media platforms. Thank you for listening, guys. We got our superstar. Hopefully he does well. Hopefully we hear in the coming weeks that we have a contract extension with Lindor and he's here for a very long time. Don't forget, guys, please subscribe. The link is going to pop up just now. Click the link to subscribe to my channel. And let's go Mets. See you next time, guys.